Week 10 of the 2025 NFL season is here. As the leaves start to change colors, we'll finally get to see some teams' true colors. This is your only place to get your 14-leg, low stakes, high reward, moneyline parlay. This is the Sunday Script. All right, everyone, welcome back. Week 10 of the Sunday Script here. We're finally entering the back half of the season. Last week, we went 9-14. Some huge upsets last week, right? Some things that we can't really account for, really.
Yeah, I know. But the games were all good. That's what really matters at the end of the day.
The games were all good. We always have a great time watching the games, doing our analysis, and then coming up with this stuff for you guys. But with that, we'll get into it with the good old-fashioned Thursday night rinse. We got an AFC West matchup here. We got the Raiders going into Denver. Denver's at -9.5, so this is a big spread for them. Denver's in first place in their division after winning each of their last 6 games. You know, they're coming back for some big deficits there to win these games in the fourth quarter. And Bo's really only showing up in the fourth quarter, which we're not sure if that makes us believers yet, like we said last week, but we'll give Bo more time for sure. Denver doesn't have Patrick Surtain, the best cornerback in football, playing this week, which could be an issue. However, the Raiders don't really move the ball that well. So they're the bottom 10 in the NFL in scoring in general. Although they had a great week last week scoring the ball against Jacksonville. We took the Raiders last week, but they couldn't come through, and they lose on that 2-point conversion try to try to win the game, which I applaud them for going to win the game, right? None of these ties and any of that crap.
Yeah, the ties are honestly one of the biggest rinses in the game right now. No one wants to see it. They want to see the game won or won and lost.
Yeah, but Geno did have one of his best games of the season with Brock Bowers back in action. I am a Brock Bowers enthusiast. He's been hurt all year, and he finally was healthy after their bye week. And, we found Bowers 12 times for over 100 yards, 3 touchdowns. So a great week for Brock Bowers to come back. I've been saying he's legit. Like I said, he's seen some rest. But, however, at home in Denver with the thin air on Thursday night, starting to get a little chilly, the Broncos should win their 7th straight game of the year so far. And we're going to take the Denver Broncos this week on the Thursday night rinse to win this AFC West matchup. What do you think, Nick, what do you think is the big reason that Thursday night is so hard to guess? I think it's a short week. What do you think plays into it?
I think it's because no one really wants to watch it. Everyone wants their football on regular days of the week. You know, nothing's better than closing a week out right. You worked hard Monday through Friday. You partied it up on Saturday, and then you sit back on Sunday and watch some football. And this whole Thursday night deal, I just think people are too focused on getting their weekend started. They're not focused on football, and you can see it on the field.
I agree. Maybe it'd be better to do Friday night.
Friday night would be a good idea.
Friday night would be a good idea. Maybe you can put that in your notes, NFL schedulers. But we'll move into the good old-fashioned international rinse. They're back. They came back for us. They know how we feel about those, and they just want to see us lose. Although we're not going to lose it this week. The Falcons take on the Colts. Colts are -5.5. So this is a home game for the Colts, even though it's in Berlin. Germany, great country, right?
Yeah, lots of good things happening out of Germany.
Yeah, a lot of good things happen out of Germany. The Colts are looking to bounce back from a turnover-filled loss. So Danny Dimes kind of comes back down to earth. 6 turnovers for the Colts. And they held Jonathan Taylor, the Steelers did, to 50 yards, which, like we say, as Jonathan Taylor goes, the Colts will go. So Danny Dimes really had his best year when Saquon was dealing for him in New York, and it's kind of carried over with him and Jonathan Taylor in Indianapolis. It appeared that Danny Jones had turned the page, but shades of his days with the blue and red are coming back to haunt him. Is that just a little bit of a microcosm, or is that a macro picture? We'll have to see. We really have to see. That's the biggest question going into this game. We're not too high on the Colts. We think the quarterback play is based off a lot of other factors, not the actual quarterback himself. So we'll have to see. But on the other hand, the Falcons have had another strange game against New England Patriots in Week 9. Defense and takeaways kept Atlanta in that game, and apparently, the head coach is saying that the Patriots were cheating and clapping on the cadences, right? The offense couldn't really get the run going, but, Penix and Drake London were enough. 118 yards, 3 touchdowns, barely coming up close and losing that game. Both these teams will only go as far as their running back takes them. Ideally, you would think, Colts should win this game. They're the better team, but we've seen it. You go across the pond, right? You go across the big body of water, and you rinse. Someone rinses. Everyone's body clock is screwed up. And with that, we're going to take the Falcons this week for the international rinse against the Colts. But do you think the Patriots were actually cheating, Nick? They're known to do that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. If you're clapping, does it really matter? I mean, the fans are clapping all the time in the stands, so I think you're just making excuses for poor performance. And if you want to cry about it, go to Twitter or wherever people cry these days in public.
I kind of agree, but I also wouldn't be surprised if the Patriots were cheating. They're known to do that.
I don't know what you're talking about. Tom's won it only legitimately, and there's
no blemishes on Tom's record at all.
No,
right.
Best quarterback in the league that was ever to play the game.
Right. But that's going to move us into a AFC South matchup here. Sorry, not AFC South matchup. My bad. AFC East. The Bills and the Dolphins. So the Finns, Nick's favorite team, right? They fired their general manager. Well, they parted ways with their general manager.
Corporate speak.
Right, corporate speak.
He's no longer there.
Mutual breakup, right? Yes. That's always the saying. But Mike McDaniel's got the dreaded vote of confidence, and their franchise QB, Tua, is in shambles still. Bad week for them against the Ravens on Thursday night. That was a bad matchup for them all the way around. The offense has really struggled without Tyreek in the lineup for some time now, which we didn't think would really be the case, but we really think it is starting to show. And not to mention, they have one of the worst defenses in football. That kind of showed itself in full colors, like the leaves changing colors, right? On Thursday night. Really what needs to happen is Stephen Ross needs to get his filthy rich hands off of his team. Usually when you see an owner get involved with a team on a day-to-day basis like that, they kind of end up fucking shit up, and they're business people, right? They're not football people, right? So I've always said best practice was give them the money, let the football people do what they do.
I don't know. Sometimes you need the big boss to come in, set things square. The Dolphins definitely need it. It's been very, very tough watching the Dolphins go through all these games. You see outstanding work and then followed by just trash play.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see the owner there more often, making sure people are acting right, and maybe he'll see the problems and be able to implement proper solutions.
We'll see. Stephen Ross really hasn't been able to do that since he's owned the Dolphins, but we'll see. Times change for sure. The Bills are coming off that win that came down to the last play, 28-21 win over the Chiefs, right? But they always beat the Chiefs in the regular season. What's going to happen is they're going to meet in the playoffs again, and Mahomes is going to win. If history repeats itself, which it usually does, right?
Yeah.
So with that, we're going to take the Bills minus 9.5 versus the Dolphins. It's a big spread going on the road, which really shows how Vegas thinks about the Dolphins. But that's going to move us into Chicago, Soldier Field. Giants versus Bears. They're only giving Bears minus 3.5 here. I don't really get it, but Giants are coming off a home loss to the Niners where CMC did whatever he wanted. And if you watched the script last week, you know that we pretty much predicted that CMC was going to do whatever he wanted. They're allowing their 30th in rush defense, the Giants are, so they can't stop the run at all, which really bodes well for the Bears considering they had 176 rushing yards from a rookie last week against the Bengals, who have one of the worst run defenses in football, right? Kyle Monangai, Caleb Williams, Colson Loveland, all having fantastic games. Your young nucleus of draft picks stepping up for you, showing that the young core can really carry them. And the Bears, surprisingly, are the 4th best offense in football at the moment. So times are changing, right? So maybe times can change for the Dolphins and times are changing for the Bears. But Ben pulls out the trick plays, and Caleb is the first quarterback in NFL history, Nick, with this one here. 250-plus pass yards, 3 touchdowns, 50 yards rushing, and 1 receiving touchdown First quarterback to ever do that, so there's a first for everything. Defense played poorly, but we don't expect Fart to match Flacco's touch. We're going to take the Bears this week on the Sunday script. Of course we are. They're gonna kick the shit out of the Giants.
Yeah, I mean, I know I've been kind of down on the Bears, but last week put a lot of confidence in me. I mean, when you see players in their rookie year coming out and performing the way that our starters for years couldn't do, I mean, the way that Loveland was able to actually catch the ball in the end zone and make a good play, I mean, it makes everyone wonder why we had Kmet for so long.
Yeah, that is a great point. We've been kind of we've been Cole Kmet haters this year, for sure. A lot of false starts, a lot of dropped catches. He only has one touchdown this year. Not a lot of. He is a great run blocker, which doesn't show up on the stats. And as a former offensive lineman, you should appreciate that.
I mean, the dude's big. I played against him in high school.
That is true. That is true.
He was big. He's a big dude. But
yes.
Past that, he must have like elephant hands because he can't catch the ball, and then he can't make a play. He's not very fast. I mean, he can kind of do some things. He's like a broken sports car where it looks really nice, but then you get
and
driving
it costs a lot of money.
Yeah, it costs a lot of money.
It costs a lot of money too, right?
It doesn't run the way you want it to. So.
No, and shout out to all the SPHS alum that got hits off him in baseball as well. Shout out to those guys. They know who they are. Yeah, but we're gonna roll into another NFC North team here. The Ravens going to Minnesota. Ravens are at -3.5 here against the Vikings, and the Ravens are coming off that mini bye and getting on track with Lamar coming back under center. It was kind of what we kind of predicted what was going to happen. Lamar was going to have a great game, and the Dolphins weren't going to be able to do much, which is pretty much what happened, right? Timely turnovers really helped Lamar finish that game off, giving him good field position, and he was making some great plays to Mark Andrews, who kind of had a resurgence game. He hasn't had a great year so far this year, and he's kind of died off the past couple years. So that was good to see from Mark Andrews. But the question is, which Baltimore defense will we see? Was that was part of the reason they played so well was because they were playing the Dolphins, right? We'll just have to see. But on the other hand, J.J. McCarthy comes back and plays his third full game. His second full game because he didn't finish the second game he played. He had an all right game if you look at the box score, but really he made plays when it mattered, which is good to see, which is why people wanted to draft him because he's just a winner, apparently. I don't know. He went to Nazareth, too, so a lot of East Suburban Catholic Conference talk here on the Sunday script this week. Wasn't expecting that, but we'll take it. We'll take it. But the Vikings defense, what are they going to do? We're just going to have to see. They get blown out by the Chargers on TNR a couple weeks ago. And then they allow 24 points to the Lions, who are a top 5 offense in football. So it really is interesting to see what defense we're going to get for the Vikings. However, if we're going to go straight off the quarterback matchup here, we're going to ride with Lamar and the Ravens this week on the Sunday script. But, I mean, do you think Lamar's comeback has really fueled them to be able to make a playoff push here, Nick?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I know I was dogging the dude for talking poorly on the team, but I mean, he is a presence on the field, and having him back out there has definitely shown that the Ravens are ready to win. But I think part of it was probably some of the backlash he got from his comments.
Yeah, probably, and faking his injury.
Yeah, he got a sick check and sat home all day. I mean,
yeah, good for him, man. Good for him.
This episode of the Sunday Script is brought to you by Sentence Enhancers. Words are tools. Some cut deep and other build bridges. In this book, it'll help you recognize new words to use, as well as help you improve your communication both at work and in everyday life. Buy Sentence Enhancers now on Amazon.
But we're gonna move into now. This is the Sunday Script game of the week, actually. This is the Patriots going into Tampa Bay to play the Buccaneers, two of Tom Brady's old teams. I'm sure Tom Brady's calling this game. I haven't checked.
Ugh, I hope not.
I hope not. But
I hope he's going to talk about it the whole time. He has
to be calling this game, right? So Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers are rested off their bye and should be getting Buck Teeth Irving back. That is a big add for them in the run game. A much-needed bye week for them to get healthier for a home game. And Tampa's defense stacks up well against the run. So the Bucs should force Drake May to win this with his arm. And Drake May showed off some of his ugly glimpses last week and just kind of, turning over the ball, showing that he's still a young quarterback. But he and the Patriots, they still survived that 24-23 win over Atlanta. But I think that the cakewalk ends here for the New England Patriots. This will be the first real team that they've played in some time. They have wins against the Panthers, Saints, Dolphins, Titans, Browns, and Falcons, who have a combined record of 14-38. So all the good talk about the Patriots might come to an end this week. But do you think, that strength of schedule and that weakness of schedule really makes a difference, Nick? Or do you think you can build off those wins, right, and then it helps you beat a better team, if that makes sense?
I don't think so. I mean, when you're driving your car and say you go off-road and you're running over some weeds on the way, you can run those things right over. But the second you see a tree actually standing there, your car is going to get absolutely wrecked.
That's a great point.
I think that the Patriots are in for a great fraud check. And it'll actually give the Buccaneers some good graces if they're able to get this done and show that they're not just Tom Brady's old team, that they're a great team in football.
Right, some much needed juice here. People are kind of sleeping on them a little bit. They lost to the Lions and they had a bye, so they haven't really been in the talking space of the media right now, or us, because we're the media too now at this point, right? But we're going to take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers -2.5 here. We only take money line, but that's the spread, right? Now we're going to move into an NFC South matchup. Saints going to the Panthers. The Panthers, this is the first time they've been favorited all year, which is crazy to say. Panthers, of course, coming off that win against Green Bay and Lambeau, which nobody probably saw coming. I kind of hinted to you that it might happen, though. If you remember that when we were talking before the games, I kind of hinted it to you a little bit. But Rico Dowdle has been very impressive for Carolina. 130 yards, 25 carries, and 2 touchdowns in the win over Green Bay. He should be able to run wild all over New Orleans. New Orleans is on pace to allow 2,000 rushing yards this year. I mean, we saw the Bears run all over them, too. So if Rico Dowdle can get going, Bryce Young won't even have to really play that well. He only threw for 140 yards against the Packers. They're much better at home than they are on the road. And rookie quarterback Tyler Shuck made his first official pro start, and he provided a little bit extra pop with his passing presence. They had an increase in yards compared to Little Rattle. However, if the Panthers run all over the Saints this week, then that's what's just going to happen, and they're going to win this game flat out, right? But do you think that this is maybe a recency bias pick for us here, Nick? Any given Sunday, the Panthers go in and they beat Green Bay last week. Is this the week they just lay a dud against a division rival?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, we've seen a lot of high talk this year and a lot of teams just having very inconsistent abilities. So I think the spread being 1.5 isn't too far off because I believe anything could really happen this game. I think it could rinse us at the end of the day. Yeah, especially
with a divisional game.
Oh yeah,
right. But the Saints haven't really proven anything to us this year. The Panthers are actually in the playoff hunt right now, so we're gonna take the Panthers at home. That's going to move us into a lot of divisional matchups this week. We got an AFC South matchup now. The Jags are going into Houston to take the Texans, and suddenly the AFC South has some form of a pulse. The 5-3 Jaguars are just a game back of the Colts after they lose to the Steelers. And, these teams met in the beginning of the year, and Jacksonville won a very close one, 17-10, where both offenses couldn't really get going. Defenses were very, very stout. However, that was preseason. That was week 2. The big thing is, though, Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr. are on IR versus a very stingy Texans defense. But the biggest question for this game is C.J. Stroud's status. If he doesn't play, famous Davis Mills will take his spot. And shout out to Davis Mills because he gave the Bears the number 1 pick in 2024. So shout out to Davis Mills. And even if Stroud plays, though, I think Jacksonville's defense is good enough to keep a very limited Texans offense at bay. And I think that this will be a close one. It will be, which is what the spread dictates. But we're going to take the Jacksonville Jaguars and go to Houston on the road and beat the Texans. But Nick, C.J. Stroud in concussion protocol, he should probably just play. He could probably play, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's not getting paid a lot of money just to stand there and look pretty. I mean, players get paid because of the risk that comes with the game. And, I mean, if he has any inclination that he can play, then I feel like why put him on the bench? If he can get it done, then let him try.
I agree. And that's the new age of the NFL, right? concussion protocol. They have the medical examiners watching players when they hit the ground to make sure if their head bashes back, then they take them off and they evaluate them.
Honestly, it's a bit inconsistent. I mean, because you'll see a big play and then you'll see a maybe not so big hit. And then next thing you know, before the next play starts, the star players pulled off the field to go to the blue negotiation tent. They're signing some contracts in there saying, "Hey, man, if something happens, it's not our fault."
Right? But maybe Vegas is getting their fingers on that too.
I wouldn't doubt it. It seems like it's just a big pool of money.
Yeah, so. I would agree. But that's going to move us into the rinse of the week here on the Sunday script: the Browns versus the Jets. We advise the scripties to watch something else or find something better to do on Sunday if you find yourself watching this game, because it's not really worth it to watch. Both of these teams are coming off a bye, which is, makes it a little bit better of a competition maybe, but we'll just have to see. Jets are coming off their first win of the season where Breece Hall did whatever he wanted to and had to throw a touchdown. So they only win because their running back is throwing a touchdown. Jets are coming up against one of the best run defenses in football, the Browns, who allow 3.6 yards a carry. So that does not bode well for the Jets. That means they might have to just rely on one of our favorite quarterbacks, Justin Fields, to throw the ball. And
I don't think.
yeah.
Rely on what?
Yeah, that's great music for that.
I think it's the most appropriate.
I would agree.
It's going to be just a huge clown show, and I think everyone at home knows it. I mean, the Browns and the Jets. Come on now.
Yeah. Dylan Gabriel is struggling as well, but we think the Browns defense outplays the Jets offense more so than the other way around. We're going to take the Cleveland Browns to go into MetLife in New Jersey and beat the Jets, and that is a underdog as well. So we're taking some underdogs this week here on the Sunday script. That's going to move us into an NFC West matchup. Like I said, a lot of divisional games on the schedule this week. The Cardinals, are going into Seattle to take on the Seahawks -6.5. Seahawks beat the Cardinals earlier this season in Arizona on TNR, and on Sunday night last week, Sam Darnold goes 16 for 16 for 282 yards and 4 touchdowns in the first half against a porous Commanders defense. We'll talk about the Commanders later. The big question for Arizona is, will Kyler Murray be back? And you know how I feel about that. They should just sit the little Garden Gnome and play Jacoby Brissett. We expect a defensive clinic here from the Seahawks, especially with Kyler Murray expected to start. If Jacoby was going to start, I would still want to lean the Seattle Seahawks here. They are a very good team this year. I don't know where they go in the contender rankings, right? That's a whole different conversation, but we're going to take the Seattle Seahawks here. But, Nick, you think they're better off just at a certain point, you can't be the head coach and sit there and go, hey, this guy, this backup that's been playing fantastic for us and is helping us. They almost beat the Colts. They almost beat the Packers, and they beat the Cowboys last night, right? So at what point do you as the coach say, hey, locker room, I want you on my side. We're going to ride with this guy?
I think they should have started riding with him a long time ago.
Yeah.
It seems like he has the skill to keep up. This is Brissett.
Yeah.
So, we saw him have a phenomenal game. I want to say a couple weeks ago against
Packers.
Yeah, against the Packers.
Yeah.
He really gave them a run for their money.
Yeah,
and he was kind of stopped because there wasn't enough time on the clock. So I don't know. It seems like he's doing the job just fine. Maybe give him the bigger paycheck and
I agree.
And he'll actually get something done with it.
Yeah, and he's not playing COD like Kyler Murray is all the time. So that's a good point.
That is the truth.
That's a good point, too.
This episode of the Sunday Script is brought to you by Woodman's Property Management. Are you looking for someplace to live? Do you want to live in the Midwest? Are you looking for something luxurious while still being affordable? Then Woodman's has the property for you. Go ahead online or down in the link below and check out Woodman's Property Management for all your rental needs.
But that's going to move us into Lions versus Commanders. This is an NFC divisional rematch from last year. However, these are two very different teams than where they were last year. Commanders are coming off getting pooped on by Seattle, and now they luck into getting the Lions. So the schedule makers for the Commanders the Commanders fans should really thank the schedulers for their schedule because it's been brutal. But the Commanders don't have a pass rush, a viable wide receiver core, and no Jaden Daniels. So what they do have is one of the league's worst secondaries that just lost Marshawn Lattimore for the season with an ACL, although he was not good to start. With Jaden out for the year, you might as well let the credits roll in the Commanders season. I was saying they were going to win 3 games. I would say maybe week 4 or so after the Bears beat them. And the Bears beat them with Jaden fully healthy. But on the other side of the field, Detroit is looking to rebound after an ugly divisional loss to Minnesota. And Dan Campbell and company should not let the Commanders run it up on this one. This should get ugly pretty quick. I see a resurgence week for their running back, Jahmyr Gibbs, who was very limited last week. And even though the Commanders got the best of the Lions last year, Lions are going to get them back this year at FedEx. So we're going to take the Lions this week on the Sunday script. But with the Lions losing, Nick, that means, Lions lose, Packers lose, Bears win, Vikings win. This is a very tight division right now, the NFC North.
Yeah, it's actually getting really exciting to watch. I mean, it's been a whole paradigm shift from what we usually been seeing. We've been seeing the Packers just dominate the North for so long. The Vikings have an outstanding team, and it's kind of a breath of fresh air to kind of see that it's becoming at least more balanced
right.
at the same time.
Right. And 3 teams made the playoffs from that division last year. Will 3 teams make it this year? It'll be hard to see. It'll be hard to see that happening this year. But we're going to ride with the Lions this week on the Sunday script. That moves us into another NFC West matchup here. Rams are going into Santa Barbara to play the 49ers. And the 49ers won a thriller over the Rams earlier in the season, 26-23, but it took a missed field goal, a missed extra point, and a lost fumble at the 1-yard line for the Rams to lose that game, that Thursday night rinse, our first Thursday night rinse of the year, actually, sadly. But from the last game, CMC balled out like we said he would against the Giants, and they gave up 14 points in the fourth quarter, but that was just fart stat padding, so not really much to go off there, but when you see a team for the second time in a division, you get to adjust, right?
Yeah, without a doubt.
And we think the Rams are just simply a better team. So the Rams should be able to get the Niners for a second time this year and beat them on the road. So we're going to take the Rams this week on the Sunday script. But that'll move us into Steelers, Chargers minus 3.5. And even after coming off a win against the Colts, the Steelers are coming in as underdogs, which is a little bit of a surprise for me. However, they are giving the Chargers this -3, which is just the home spread. And despite this game taking place in SoFi, it'll be a lot of Steelers fans. SoFi is not a home stadium for the Chargers or the Rams, sadly. And the big thing about the Steelers, though, is they were turnover dependent, which allowed them to win that game. However, Joe Alt might not play, the star tackle for the Chargers. And that means the Chargers might, pull a game like they did against Fart a little while back when he got hurt. So the lack of weapons also might be a concern for LA. But we're going to take the Steelers this week on the Sunday script. You think Aaron's got what it takes to make this cross-country trip and beat the Chargers at home, Nick?
To be honest, no, I don't. I mean, we saw it last week where the Steelers kind of put up this amazing game against the Colts, no?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, against the Colts. And they were dependent on the defense the whole time. I mean, if the defense didn't have those receptions, Aaron would have never got a shot. Aaron's very, very, very good on the let's sneak a quick one in.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
Loves those quickies.
Yeah, I guess so. But I don't think he can go the distance anymore. I think age has finally caught up to him, and he relies on that strong defense to actually win games these days.
Yeah. We'll just have to see, right? But that's going to take us into the Monday night finisher here on the Sunday script. Packers. Eagles are going into Green Bay to take on the Packers. Packers get 2 home games in a row, and the Packers look like shit once again against the Panthers. Always playing down to their competition. Jordan Love getting paid $200 million to just rinse and to throw across his body like he always does. One of the worst throws I've ever seen in my life from a quarterback getting paid that much money. And little midget Matt LaFleur will probably get fired after another disappointing season if they keep this up. And the Eagles, they retake the number 1 seed in the NFC. That's kind of crazy how the Eagles didn't even have to play a game, and they end up taking the number 1 seed in the NFC. Eagles are just a better team here. They have a better coach, better quarterback, better defense, better kicker, better special teams, better tight ends, better quarterbacks. You name it. Eagles are just a better team. We're going to take the Philadelphia Eagles to beat the Green Bay Packers here on the Sunday script. What's going on with the Packers, Nick? Come on, what's going on?
They're bad. They don't care. I think they're done. I think the whole legacy that has been built up over all these years, I think it's just starting to crumble and fall. I mean, you can see it in just the energy on the field. I mean, Love just seems to just kind of show up, do his job, and go home, whether he did a good job or not. And I think it's becoming painfully obvious for not only the fans of other teams, but for Packers themselves.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's the Packers teeter-totter for sure.
Yeah, I think they're slowly on the out.
Yeah.
It'll be a couple years till they can kind of figure themselves out again.
Yep. So that is the Week 10 slate here. A quick breeze by this week on the Sunday script. But with that, we'll get into our takes this week. Nick and I will get into our takes, our opinions, thoughts about a team, thoughts about players, all of that. And we'll get into that right now on the Sunday script. And my take this week for Week 10 is that if it wasn't for the 7th seed, Matt LaFleur would currently not be the head coach of the Green Bay Packers. Ever since the 7th seed was implemented in 2022, let's take a look back in time, shall we? 2022, you Packers lose to Detroit in the last game of the season, eliminating them from playoff contention. 2023, 7th seed, 10-7. 2024, 7th seed, 10-7. 2025, are they on the same path? We'll have to see. You know, we were at the game last year where the Bears beat the Packers at Lambeau, and Caleb Williams is undefeated at Lambeau. And I said it then, LaFleur, hot seat, because we knew they were going to get demolished by the Eagles, which they did. But going forward here, you know, they can't stretch the ball down the field. Tucker Kraft tore his ACL. So now you only have Saubs to throw the ball to, and Christian Watson, who's back, but he's due for an Achilles injury or something soon here. Packers were riding high off 2 games at the beginning of the season. You lose to the Browns, you tie the Cowgirls, and then you lose to the Panthers at home. So maybe instead of focusing on the Eagles last week, they should have been focusing on the Panthers. Because my assumption is they went, oh, we got to beat the Steelers. They did that. They skipped over the Panthers, and they said, oh, well, the Eagles are coming into town, and we're the number 1 seed in the NFC, so we got to take care of them. But the Panthers were a very viable opponent, and the Panthers took down the Packers at Lambeau, which was a great sight to see. So that is my take for Week 10 here on the Sunday script.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good take. And then my take this week goes out to all the fans at the football games. I think they need to get rid of the beer restriction. I mean, what can be done with 2 beers in cups? You spill half of one, you drink part of one on the walk there, just so it doesn't fall over, and then it goes on, and then what? You get to your seat with 1 beer, so you have to walk back, and not to mention, those beers,
oh yeah,
they're not cheap. So what I'm thinking is they double the limit to 4 beers, and they give you the can. Because the importance of the cans is if you ever try to hold a cup, you got to hold them like this. And if you got 4, you got 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. And it's a mess. It's always a mess. You can't walk around like this. You'll spill it over.
Yeah.
You'll make a mess. But with cans, so we'll imagine that as a can, they stack up nicely. It's like they're made to be stacked. And we got 2 hands. We're blessed with 2 hands. I feel like the NFL should come to their senses. Let us have 4 beers at the game, and everybody will win. But that's just my take this week.
And with that, we thank you for joining us here. Week 10 on the Sunday script. We'll get into the good old classic rundown here for your full 14-leg moneyline parlay. Raiders versus Broncos. We're going to take the Broncos on Thursday night rinse. Falcons versus Colts. We're going to take the Falcons to win in Berlin. Giants, Bears. Bear down, we're taking the Bears. Ravens versus Vikings. We're going to take Lamar and the Ravens to go into US Bank Stadium and beat the Vikings. Patriots versus Buccaneers. We're going to take the Bucks, and we're going to take Tampa Bay this week on the Sunday script. Saints versus Panthers, NFC South matchup. We're going to take the Panthers to come off high off their win against the Packers. Jags versus Texans, AFC South matchup. We're going to take Duval this week on the Sunday script. Browns versus Jets. We're going to ride high with the shit-stained Browns on the Sunday script this week. Cardinals versus Seahawks. Give us the Seahawks to fly high in Seattle in the Battle of the Birds. Lions, Commanders. Lions get their rematch from last year. Easily handle the Commanders this week on the Sunday scripts. Rams versus Niners. We're going to take whose house? Rams house on the Sunday script. Steelers versus Chargers. We're going to ride with Aaron, and we're going to take the Steelers to beat the Chargers in SoFi on the Sunday scripts. And Eagles versus Packers. We're going to fly, Eagles, fly, to come down and snatch up the cheese and fly away. And that is your Week 10 rundown here on the Sunday script. We hope to see you next week, where you will be significantly richer, and so will we. We'll see you next week on the Sunday script.